It rides. But boy. Maybe not the best idea to ride with the camera in my hand. Some of you pointed that out in the comment section on one of my latest videos, and I would probably admit that. But it makes for a hell of a fun footage though. Let's look in front. I am hell-bent on riding, but I'm gonna do it with both hands on the handlebars. Actually pretty good traction on this road. Yeah, they didn't clear it, but with the new snow being packed just ever so slightly, the studs and even regular tires give you sufficient traction. I don't know about this shared pathway that's alongside here. Have a look. See, it looks like the snow is much deeper there, so I'm not gonna go on it. What a good day for a bike ride. Well, of course, it's snowing like crazy. It wasn't even supposed to snow like this, but it is. Well, I took my winter bike, obviously, and I'd like to talk about winter bike. What is the ideal winter bike? Well, I got one, but I can promise you that the ideal winter bike is not this. It was built before they ever had V-brakes, but it's got V-brakes. That's because it's been converted. V-brakes front and back. It's got a steel rim in the back. It's kind of rusty now. It's got a 2.6 drivetrain. It's got a plastic seat that is hard as a rock. It's actually got a tail light and a reflector. And it's got studded tires, even though you cannot tell. So I make do with this bike in the winter. And the reason this is my winter bike is basically just because it's an old bike and I had it and it fits me and I enjoy riding it more in the summer than the winter. But I have another bike I ride in the summer that is in a little bit better shape, a little bit higher end bike. So this one kind of just ended up here. And ended up as the winter bike. I will tell you what I would improve the next time that I choose a bike to be my winter bike or be more winter specific. This bike is just because, you know, you don't want to ride your very best bike in the winter. So you take something that is kind of like a winter beater, you know, when you buy an old car just to make it through the winter so your nice car won't rust, kind of thing. So this is kind of how this bike ended up as my winter bike. So now I'm in front of a popular outlook point. It's more popular in the summertime than now. You can see the river from here and you can see the highway, the Capilano Bridge. And if I step a little forward, you can probably see my bike behind me. So let's talk about this bike. Why is my winter bike not the ideal winter bike? Let me go through the components that bother me the most, or yeah, that I would like to improve. Well, the first reason why this is not the ideal winter bike, even though it's only a 2 and 6 drivetrain, it's probably got too many gears, because in the winter time I don't need all these gears. Most of the time I'm in this gear and it never changes. Maybe up a steep hill it might. But the other thing is, this derailleur, you can see the condition of it. See how rusty it is? This is not a high-end derailleur at all, but it is exposed to the elements, same as all this. And there's another derailleur in the front. So the number one thing that I would change on this bike is I would put the chain inside an enclosure, and then I would give it probably a 3-speed or something, or even make it just a single speed, because in the winter time you have to have a gear that is pretty much good for all the conditions. It's always a compromise, but the less you have to shift, the better it is. And I found that, like I said, practically all winter long I'm in the same gear. So why have what is basically a 12-speed bike if you're only using one gear? Having less gears and have an internal hub would make it possible then to enclose that chain completely, so that the salt, the sand, the dirt wouldn't get onto the chain, and the chain would last, I want to say, 10 times as long. It's not an accurate assessment, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's pretty much bang on. The chain will last a lot longer if it stays clean and if it's well lubricated. And in the winter time, the salt and everything that gets onto the chain just basically eats away your lubrication, corrodes your chain, and yeah, by the end of the winter you're due for a new one, guaranteed. The number two thing about this bike not being the perfect winter bike, these tires, even though I bought them for that purpose, they are winter tires. However, I think they should be a little bit more aggressive tread, more studs. They are ready for more studs. I can put more studs in there, but the problem is the deep snow. See, it gets all clogged up. And of course, with so many of you recommending a fat bike for winter, I would probably choose a bike with wider tires. I don't know if I'd go to a fat bike, but it would definitely be a consideration. But what people told me about these fat bike tires is that in what we call snert or brown sugar, they still don't get quite the same traction as you get on other surfaces. And I'm finding that under certain conditions this bike might actually be better off. But yeah, you correct me on that. I have never ridden a fat bike, so the snert has to be pretty deep for me to not be able to ride through it. Well, I would probably try wider tires with a more aggressive tread, more knobby, with more studs. So maybe I could even fit that on that bike. And with my first beef here with the enclosed chain, I'm kind of wondering, maybe this bike could be converted. Correct me if that's a bad idea, because yeah, you would still have to have some kind of tensioner for the chain, unless you have a different kind of dropouts maybe. Now, the reason number three this bike is perhaps not ideal for winter are those V-brakes, especially the front ones. They are lock up really easy. You just have to pull on it very, very slightly. And I got V-brakes in front and back, and they're excellent brakes, but for winter, they can also get clogged up with stuff. What brake is the best for winter? A disc brake is probably also prone to the exposure from the dirt and stuff, but it's further away from the ground, so maybe it's better in that regard. Actually, it's not further away from the ground, but the rim is close to the ground, so it can pick up a lot of stuff. I don't know, does this even make sense what I'm saying? I'm thinking it's either a disc brake or a drum brake for winter. Now you tell me, if you have experience with either or both, what would be the best way to go? I know drum brakes are kind of hard to come by. Disc brakes are very common, but to put it on a bike like this, maybe not that easy, but I've seen it done. Now the reason number 4, this is perhaps not the ideal winter bike, is this seat. I put it on there because I got it. I got it for cheap. The plastic becomes extremely hard in the winter, so there's no cushioning at all. It makes your butt sore. Yeah, and it makes your butt sore not because it's plastic and it's hard and there's no padding. It is because the plastic actually gets harder when it's cold. I have Brooks seats on my other bikes, and they're fine. There's no padding on those ones, but they kind of adapt to your shape a whole lot better, which is actually the idea behind this plastic seat as well. And it works sort of good in the summertime. In the wintertime, I find it too hard. So why haven't I changed it yet? Good question. Reason number 5. Now, for really cold weather riding, I wouldn't mind having some pogies on this bike. But I also have the friction shifters here. Those friction shifters, I absolutely love them. But yeah, maybe they're not that easy to operate with pogies. But you know, now after I told you these 5 reasons, I really cannot come up with anything else. Because this bike, despite having all these drawbacks for winter riding, it has served me well. It's a tough bike. It's a steel frame. If you let me know, is an aluminum frame better in the winter? I had to repaint this bike twice in its lifetime already. Actually, I think I repainted it 3 times. One time I used trim-clad hammered finished paint, and I believed what it says on their can. It says, no primer needed for most applications. But if you do that, trust me, if you do it on a bicycle, you got to make sure you have a good primer on there that adheres to the metal really well, because otherwise your frame is going to be bare. So, summarize, well, for winter riding, ideally I'd like to have a bike with big wheels, perhaps no speeds at all or a 3-speed maximum. I would like to have an enclosed chain, and I would like to have brakes that are not affected by wet and cold and snow and contamination. So I'm thinking that probably drum brakes would be good for that. I'd like a set of handlebars where it's easy to put some pogies on there. And other than that, I would like to have a seat that is either padded or perhaps another Brooks. Maybe for winter, padded would be all right. That's what I've learned from riding in the winter for a number of years. It's always come down to those major things. So the next time I am going to build up a bike, especially for winter, it's going to have those features. There's always the idea to keep this bike as a winter bike and just modify it. But the question is it even suitable for that? Here I am inviting your comments once again. What do you think about it? Should I use this bike for winter going forward? Or should I pick up something else and build that up for winter? Should I buy a fat bike? Should I buy an old Dutch bike? What bike combines all these features that I mentioned? If you have a tip for me, I'd highly appreciate it, because maybe next winter I'll have a different winter bike, or this one is going to get another total makeover. I hope you enjoyed this little video. Ride on a snow day. It's not really all that bad. give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel but you like this kind of content and you like my other content, you might want to check out something completely different, because I'm not exclusively cycling or bicycle content. I do a whole bunch of stuff which has hurt my channel, guys. So help me out here. And I'll see you very soon in another video. You might want to check out the one on the screen right now.